So we're going to talk about the sounds of letters in Spanish, like the vowel sounds, what these letters that don't really exist in English mean, or like this letter G, how to pronounce it in certain situations. So first of all, the good thing about Spanish is that typically, 99% of the time, if you have a vowel sound in a word, it's going to have that same time every single time you say a word. Like if I say the letter A in one word and I have another word that also has the letter A, it's going to be the exact same pronunciation of this letter every single time. And I've got Andrea behind the camera as well to kind of help me pronounce these things, just so that you hear it from me, who has good pronunciation, and then from her, who's a native speaker, so it's 100% perfect. So going down the A-E-I-O-U alphabet, or the vowel alphabet, it's A for A, E, I, O, U. All right, so A, kind of like you go, my leg hurts. E, you're like, eh? That's how I think of it. I is kind of like when you say C, the double E, that's the sound you're going to produce. O, it's not O, so don't go like O, it's not that, it's O.
O, yeah.
Right, and then U, I guess if you're going like ooh, you can think of it that way. So Andrea, could you just do that real quick?
Yes. A, E, I, O, U.
Do it one more time because Mila decided to start crying.
Okay. A, E, I, O, U.
There you go. So let's talk now about these two letters. Is this considered one letter, or is it like...
No.
Okay.
It used to be part of the alphabet, the Spanish alphabet, years ago, but they removed it.
They always change it. Same thing with the double L, like it used to be part of it. I don't know if it's still a part of it.
They removed it from the official alphabet, yeah.
So that's why I never really bothered learning the alphabet for a long time in Spanish anyways. But let's talk first about the single R and then the double R sound. So the double R is when you actually roll your R's, and Andrea, if you can do that. Right, so that's the sound I can't actually sustain for long periods of time. I can produce it long enough to say a word, but I can't actually do it. And I'll actually have a video showing you how to do that if you can't. But the double R, whenever you have the double R sound, you're going to roll it. You are going to always roll your double R.
No matter what.
No matter what. You will roll the single R if it's at the beginning of a word. All right, so you're still going to produce this rolling sound if this is at the beginning of a word. I'll give you some examples in a minute. If this is in the middle of a word, you don't roll. So I'll show you kind of what this means. When you say the word little, the double T, like I'll write it here. If I have the word little, right?
Or setting.
Or setting. The double T is basically this single R sound. Really quick. So say little a few times and then get the hang of that single R. Because if I have a word like, trying to think of a, cara, that's a great example. Cara, this means face. So this single R here is just going to make that single R sound, the cara. It's not cara.
It's like a double T.
Right.
It's the same exact sound.
You're not going to roll this. It's just cara, really simply. It's not cara. So if you want to sound more like a native speaker, you don't want to sound like an American saying the R sound. You don't want to say cara. A lot of people do that. Cara is how you say it. You're going to instantly sound more like a native speaker by pronouncing these right. Now, if I have carro, we have that double R, so you roll it. Andrea does it better than me.
Carro.
There you go. If I have this, though, real, notice how it's not real. Even though that single R in the other word cara was just like one sound, here we roll it because it's at the beginning of a word, so it's real.
Mm-hmm. One thing to know as well is that no word in Spanish will ever start with a double R. That doesn't exist. That would be a grammatical error.
Exactly. You're never going to see that. That's never going to happen. That's why when it's at the beginning of a sentence, you just have to roll it. Can you say this word real quick?
Real.
There you go. You don't have to sustain it. You never have to sustain this double R sound, which is why I can get away with not being able to continuously roll my R's, because you're never going to go car.
Carro.
Right. You only do that if you're being dramatic about something. That's the only way you do that. So I'm going to erase this stuff so it's easier to see what the other stuff we're going to go over. That's pretty self-explanatory. The main thing about this, though, is like you don't want to say carro. People instantly know you're American doing that. One of the reasons that people didn't think I was American sometimes when I would talk on the phone with them was because I would pronounce this sound in a way that didn't make me stick out like a sore thumb like I was an American. So do not do this like an American arts. Cara or cardo, make sure you get that down. The double L is kind of like the Y sound, the letter Y in yellow, for example. Like if I, in yellow, this y sound is very similar to this. I will note that depending on what country you're in, this may change a little bit. I've noticed in Spain, it's more of a sh sound, if I'm not mistaken. Like if I say llover, this means rain. Go ahead and pronounce that.
Llover.
So Andrea, who's from Venezuela, is really going to say this like the y sound, like llover.
I think for the most part in Latin America, they're going to pronounce it like that.
Right.
In Spain, maybe there's going to be a very, very slight difference, but they're still going to understand you. Because something that I like to say to people is that Latin American Spanish versus Spain Spanish is like American English versus British English.
Right.
They can still understand you, but there are going to be some slight differences in pronunciation.
Exactly. I've noticed it's typically a bit thicker, a little more like a llover. I think in Argentina as well, it's llover. It's more of a j sound. But I would just, to be safe, pronounce it like a Y. That's the correct way of doing it. Right, let's talk about the letter G now, because I'll be honest though, there's a time where you pronounce it like a G, like the English G, and there's a time where you pronounce it more like a H, like an H sound. Like in the word gato, you say it like a G, like in English, but in the word gente, which means people, it sounds like an H, it's gente. I'll tell you the rule, but honestly, and Andrea knows the rule too, better than I do, but when I learned Spanish, I just learned which words were pronounced like a H and which words pronounced like a G. Honestly, for me, that it was easier that way. I don't know why, but Andrea, you can kind of go over the rule real quick.
So when I was, a lot of little kids in Spanish make these mistakes, and I literally remember when I was in kindergarten, and our teacher taught us this lesson, and it was a game changer for me. So, write down the vowels there, if you don't mind.
The ga, go,
A, E, O, O.
Yeah.
Just the vowels. Okay. So, ga, go, gu. You can just write it down.
Here, like that.
Yes. Those two will always be pronounced like ga, go, gu.
Gu,
Okay?
like
Always.
hard G. I'm going to put an H because that means a hard G.
A hard G,
meaning
exactly. You would pronounce it as a hard G.
Right.
Now, the word, or the...
What, the U?
But when it comes to the letters E and I, if you want to pronounce it with a hard G,
yeah,
you would have to add a U in between.
Okay.
Every single time at the beginning of a word.
Like in the word guerra.
Exactly.
Because
no matter what. Because if it doesn't have that U in between, it's going to be pronounced ha, like hey. Okay.
So otherwise, these are. I'm going to put soft unless there's a U in front.
So for example, the word guerra and the word gente.
Right.
Write that down, yeah. So the word gente is pronounced with a soft G.
Right.
Because it doesn't have a U in the middle of the letter G. And
If this were gente, then we could do that, but there's no U.
In there, it would pronounce gente.
Right.
So that is the difference. But ga, A-O-U are always going to be pronounced ga, go, gu, no matter what.
Ga, go, gu. You can think of it that way.
Yep.
But yeah, and luckily there's only 2 sounds you really have to know for that. And the letter N with the squiggly line over that, is there an actual word for that?
Niño.
Like the actual letter. It's pronounced Ñ. Like if you're going through the alphabet, you go N, Ñ. So like the regular N is N, this is Ñ. All the squiggly line means is that you pronounce it like a Ñ. That's a really weird way to pronounce it.
Like a GN in English. Like lasagna. people kind of
There
say
you
it
go,
like that.
yeah.
It's like the GN. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like if you were to write in English, lasagna, like we know that this is not lasagna, it's
Or lasagna.
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 That's the best. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, but if this were written, actually the word in Spanish for lasagna is how it
With an
should
N.
be in English. It's lasagna.
There you go.
That's easy. I'm not going to go into more detail over that. The J is pronounced like a H, like a jota.
Like an
That's
H
the
in
letter.
English.
Kind of like an H. Now, I will say for sure in Spain, this is pronounced harder. Like if I have ajo, this is garlic. Andrea would probably say this more like ajo.
Ajo.
Just like, that's how I would say it too.
And in Latin America, they're going to pronounce it like that as well.
Pretty much anywhere in Latin America. In Spain, they might say it more like ajo.
Ajo.
It's in the throat.
Because I think that Spanish has a lot of French influence in it, so it sounds like the R in French. Like,
Right, like in the R in French is h from the throat, so it's like ajo. But in Latin America, it's just like an H, ajo. But
and
I
that's
don't.
actually, we type our laugh in Spanish.
Yeah.
It's ha 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 ha.
Right, like in English, we will say haha in like a group chat. In Spanish, it's haha. By the way, in our group chat, if you want to do it this way, I'd encourage you to, just to kind of practice a little bit. But that's why, like, if you ever see the memes, it's like laughing in English versus laughing in Spanish. Ja. It's kind of funny. I don't think I missed anything. That's really the main differences between the letters and how to pronounce the letters in English versus Spanish. Not too complicated, to be honest, because in English there's thousands of ways to pronounce different words and vowels, whereas in Spanish there's just like 5.
Spanish is a phonetic language, which means that words are always going to be pronounced exactly the way they're written. In English, they change. So, for example, the word read and read, they're written the same, but they're pronounced differently. In Spanish, you're absolutely never going to have that. So, actually, pronunciation in Spanish, I find it to be a lot easier than in English.
So easy. And I mean, like, if I look at the, like, teléfono in Spanish, I mean, there's 2 O's and 2 E's. Like in English, these even though it's the same letter, they could be completely different pronunciations depending on where it is in the word. And it makes no sense. Here, this is always going to be teléfono.
It's never going to change.
Never going to change. This O has the same sound as this O, and this E has the same sound as this E. And if you're confused about this accent or where to put emphasis on words, check out the other video here that I made talking about the emphasis and where to put emphasis on words. But I appreciate you guys checking this out. Thanks for being un miembro. Nos vemos en el próximo video.